So, can I be recorded without my permission? That's the question. No fluff, no legal jargon. Just straight up. Is it legal for someone to record me, whether it's video or audio, without even telling me? And if you've ever been in public, walking down the street, riding the train, sitting at a restaurant, you've probably had that moment. You spot someone holding their phone, kind of pointing it your way. You don't know if they're texting or filming or going live on Instagram, but it just feels off. And maybe you think, wait, am I in the background of someone's video right now? Can they even do that without asking? This happens all the time. You're trying to live your life, and suddenly you're part of someone else's TikTok, vlog, live stream, whatever. And most of the time, no one even tells you. There's no warning, no, hey, do you mind? Just the lens pointed in your direction. So today we're going to unpack that whole mess. What the law says about being recorded on camera, in conversations, at work, on the phone, and where the line actually is. Because believe it or not, sometimes it's totally legal, and sometimes it can be a crime. We're going to talk about how the rules change depending on where you are, whether you're being recorded on video or audio, what counts as a private space, and what you can actually do if you find out someone's been recording you without your permission. And don't worry, I'll keep it simple. No legalese, no courtroom drama. Just what you need to know in plain English. Quick heads up before we go deeper, though, this is just legal information, not legal advice. If you're in a specific situation, talk to a licensed attorney in your state. All right, let's start with the most common situation, being filmed in public. Here's the deal. If you're out in public, in most cases, it is legal for someone to record you on video without asking. I know it doesn't feel great, but legally speaking, if you're in a place where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy, someone pulling out a camera isn't breaking the law. Think sidewalks, parks, stores, restaurants. These are considered public or semi-public spaces, and the law generally says you shouldn't expect full privacy in those places. So if someone's recording a vlog on a city street and you walk by in the background, that's allowed, even if you're not thrilled about it. But, and this is a big but, that changes completely when you're in a private space. If you're somewhere that you reasonably expect privacy, like a bathroom, a dressing room, your home, a hotel room, even your private office with the door closed, then recording without consent can be a legal violation. In many states, that kind of secret filming is a crime. It's not just creepy, it's illegal. And yes, this includes hidden cameras. If someone installs a hidden camera in a bedroom or bathroom without telling you, even if it's their property, they can face criminal charges. There have been court cases where landlords, roommates, and even Airbnb hosts were prosecuted for exactly this kind of thing. Privacy matters, and the law recognizes that. Now let's switch to audio recordings, because this is where things start to get a little trickier. Let's say you're on a phone call with someone, or having an in-person conversation, and you find out later they were recording the whole thing without telling you. Is that legal? Well, it depends on what state you're in. In the United States, there are two main types of laws when it comes to recording audio: one-party consent and two-party consent. And no, those aren't just random labels. They determine whether someone can legally record a conversation without telling the other person. If you're in a one-party consent state, only one person involved in the conversation has to know it's being recorded. So if you're in the conversation and you hit record, that's legal. You don't need to tell the other person at all. You're part of it, so your consent is enough. Most states in the US follow this rule. It's the majority. But some states, about a dozen, might require what's called two-party or all-party consent. And in those states, every person in the conversation has to agree before any recording happens. If you record someone in one of these states without letting them know, you could be breaking the law. Not civil law, criminal law. You could be charged, fined, even sued. And here's where it gets messier. What if the call is between two different states? Say you're in a one-party state and the other person is in a two-party state. Whose law applies? This is where the courts are inconsistent. Some judges go with the stricter law, meaning if either party is in a two-party state, then everyone has to consent. Others look at where the recording actually took place. It's not always predictable. Which is why, if you're ever unsure, the safest thing to do is just tell the other person. Get there okay. Better safe than accidentally breaking the law. Now let's talk about real-life situations, because these questions don't just come up in phone calls or public filming. People get recorded at work, during Zoom meetings, by family members, even by exes in legal battles. So here's how it plays out in those scenarios. At work, it's legal in many states for employers to record company phone calls or monitor communications, as long as they have a policy in place and employees are aware. That's why you hear that message. This call may be monitored or recorded. That's them covering their legal bases. But if your boss records you in secret, in a state that requires consent, they could be breaking the law too. Same with Zoom meetings or virtual calls. If you're in a one-party state and you're part of the meeting, you can hit record. But many platforms will notify everyone when the recording starts. And even if it's legal, recording a private meeting without telling others can get you in trouble at work, or even violate your company's privacy policy. And then there are the personal cases. People going through divorces, custody battles, harassment. Sometimes recording someone can feel like the only way to prove what's really happening. If you're in a one-party consent state and you're part of the conversation, yes, you can legally record it and potentially use it as evidence in court. But if you're in a two-party state and you secretly record someone, even if you're trying to protect yourself, that recording might not just be inadmissible. It might also get you in trouble. Now, what if you find out that someone did record you without your permission? First, take a breath. Then figure out where it happened and what kind of recording it was. Was it video or audio? Was it in a public place or somewhere private? Was it a conversation you were a part of? If it turns out they broke the law, like recording a private phone call in a two-party state or hiding a camera in a bathroom, you might have options. You could file a civil lawsuit. In some cases, criminal charges are possible. It depends on the situation and the laws in your state. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, yes, you can legally record police officers and public officials in public spaces. Courts have ruled that's protected by the First Amendment, as long as you're not interfering with what they're doing. But again, keep it respectful and obvious. Hiding your phone or acting aggressive can still escalate the situation, even if what you're doing is legal. So here's the takeaway. If you're in public, expect that you might be on camera. And that's usually legal. But when it comes to audio or private settings, the rules get stricter. Some states need everyone's consent, others don't. And if you're not sure, ask. Get it in writing. Don't assume. Because one recording can either help your case or blow it up in your face. All right, quick recap before we wrap up. If you remember nothing else from this episode, let it be this. Video recordings in public? Legal. Private areas? Not without consent. Audio recordings? Depends on your state. Know if you're in a one-party or two-party consent state before you hit record. And if you're being recorded and it feels wrong, you might have legal options. That's it for today's episode of the In Plain Legal Podcast. As always, this is just legal information, not legal advice. If you've got a personal situation, make sure to talk to an attorney in your state. If you found this helpful, check out our episode on what to do if your employer doesn't give you your W-2. It's another one of those situations where your rights matter more than most people realize. Thanks for listening. Catch you in the next one.